So before I play the 1990s video of Geraldo Rivera and Satanic Panic, I have to put some disclaimers out there. I don't own the rights to this special. Clearly, I'm not Geraldo Rivera. Uh, I don't know if I need to add commentary throughout the video or not, just so that it doesn't put some strike on my channel for putting that full video out there without any type of commentary. Sometimes it does that. There will be, well, we're talking about child sacrifice and cannibalism and sex trafficking, so it's not going to be a podcast or a video for people that you don't want to hear these things. It won't be a podcast that you don't want young kids to listen to, or you might want them to, just so they know what's going on. But I also have to start it with asking again, like in my last video, you have to have a open mind on this. You can't be biased. Okay, I'm gonna sound a little biased with my first little monologue as well, but there is a reason. So I'm gonna ask one question. It's a series of questions, but it all envelops one simple, pretty reasonable overall question with this whole conspiracy. Because the right has been talking about this conspiracy for 30 years. Uh, Back in the 90s, it was called the Satanic Panic. I'm not sure if that name was created by the FBI or that's what it just became known as in the 90s. It was because of all these allegations of people have experiencing satanic rituals or having it done to themselves, whatever. But basically, what it came down to was the FBI supposedly, investigated all these claims and they found zero evidence of any of them being actually related to Satanism or just being legit, basically. And there's an old X Files episode, maybe more than one, but I know that there's at least one where it's about satanic rituals in some small town up in the Northeast somewhere, maybe Pennsylvania, and the town thinks that there's a satanic cult or something like that there's something like that going on in the town. So Mulder and Scully get sent up there to investigate it because they deal with all the paranormal stuff. And it basically starts out because Scully's supposed to be the skeptic. She's the scientist. She never believes anything, which is not how a scientist should be. But she's very science driven, so she has to see everything to believe it. And Mulder, he wants to believe it, so that's why he's always investigating these things because he knows that there's some truth to all these claims. And so they go out there, and it basically just starts out with Scully already, putting out that conditioning to people as they watch the show that the FBI has already investigated all these claims of satanic rituals, etc. We've already concluded that the majority of these cases, basically all of them, weren't substantiated by the claims. It's basically saying that it's all a lie. So of course the FBI, in this case, it's a fictional show, but the FBI in general, the actual, not in the show, but the actual real FBI, of course they would want that conditioning to get out there to make people believe that this isn't happening because the people that most likely control them are the ones that are doing these acts. So if you are in control of these figureheads of these intelligence agencies that can go out there and put out claims saying this is all bullshit, then of course they would do that. Main question I want everybody, mainly, it'll sound biased, but there's a point. Um, the main question to ask of the people on the left or moderate, whatever, because again, this has been a far right conspiracy for 30 plus years, okay? The right has been talking about child sacrifice, human trafficking, elites basically doing all these things. And it's been called a far right conspiracy for 30 plus years. So now the left, within the last year, basically, the last year and a half, at first they didn't believe Epstein's story. It was a conspiracy, the right wing conspiracy. The right continuously talked about it from when he was first arrested back in the 2000s until the second time back when Trump was in office. I think it was 2017 when he got arrested again. And then that was when the left started maybe kind of putting some pieces together saying, oh, maybe Trump is linked to this guy. So, and that is kind of the point of this question. If I'm not defending Trump or anything like that, I'm just asking a basic question. If the orange man, Trump, is directly linked in ways to Epstein involving all the crazy shit that we've heard, then why would the Democrats in Washington, the FBI, the CIA, they already had all this information. They had all these files since the early aughts, or I guess the middle aughts, since he got arrested like in 2005 or six, the first time. Why would they not just release that in 2015 when Trump came down the escalator? I think it was 2015 when he comes down the escalator to announce his run for presidency, because what led up to that was Obama was, or what they call that, was the Operation Arctic Frost, where they were bugging Trump Tower to basically spy on Trump, something that the left continuously bitched about for decades about with Nixon and Watergate. Um, so they have all they needed right there before he even announced. They already knew he was going to announce, so they could have just started releasing stuff right then. And instead, what they went with instead was the PP gate. I think a PP gate, where there was supposedly a video out there of Trump being pissed on by Russian hookers in a Russian hotel, I think. And there was something. Oh, it was the bed that the Obamas slept in, or something like that. So there was supposedly some videotape out there of Trump getting pissed on by hookers in Russia. I think it was Russia. Um, so why wouldn't they release that if that was a thing, or worse things like what we've been seeing? And they instead invented that theory, that conspiracy theory, because it wasn't true at all, which then evolved to Russia collusion for 10 years of investigating, basically. Two investigations. The first one was with the old dude, Robert Mueller. The second one, I can see his face. I can't remember his name. Whatever his name was. Both of them concluded that there was no Russia collusion in the 2016 election. The only collusion they found was with a bunch of Russian bots, and then when they investigated those bots, they found the Russian bot farms, if you remember that phrase. When they investigated that theory, or that fact at that time to them, they found that there was no evidence of it having any influence whatsoever of the people on Facebook, because that's where these Russian bot farms were making profiles to supposedly, well, they were to post just right wing material, and all these accounts still do it, but it's on left and right. And from Russia collusion, I don't remember what all the other controversies were that they were trying to get Trump kicked out for. Well, let's just go with the grab him by the pussy, okay? That supposedly at that time was the worst thing that he had done. Was said these women, they come to you. You can do whatever you want with them if you're a man of power or whatever he said. You can basically just grab him by the pussy. If Trump is tied to Epstein, and if he did 8 kids, whatever the allegations are with him in the files about whatever he raped kids, whatever, why would they create another fictional scenario like that instead of just saying, hey, we have all these files saying that the Orange Man has been killing and fucking all these kids? Instead, they went with Russia collusion, PP hoax, grab him by the pussy. They brought E. Jean Carroll back from the dead to a year after the what do they call it? The length of time you have to say somebody did something to you. I'm blanking on the phrase. I think it was 20 years after the incident happened, and that's how long she went without coming forth and saying that this happened to her. So by then, that time frame was up by law. Still can't think of the phrase. Um, and so they passed a law in New York just for E. Jean Carroll, so that she could go out there with a lawsuit and say that Trump, I think he finger blasted me in the whatever that place is in New York. um, I can kind of see the name of that one. I'm not gonna look all this shit up again. But yeah, so he finger blasted some old woman. Well, at that time she was 30, however old she was at that time. She finger blasted. He finger blasted some chick in the something Dorf, whatever the name was. Uh, and instead, there's supposedly there's these videos of him fucking and killing kids, but instead they chose to go with E. Jean Carroll. And then instead of just releasing all the videos of Trump fucking kids, and eating kids possibly, what else did they do? They said, oh, he over what was the word they used? Overestimated, inflated the value of his properties by millions of dollars. So here here's whatever the phrase they use for that. Overinflation of property value. They went with this story. Trump fucking kids, pretty serious, and they didn't go with this one. They went with this one. If you want somebody out of power, wouldn't you go with this thing up here? You instead of this thing down here. They just kept on working their way up until finally, a year ago, basically, right? No, it was the year leading up to the 2024 election. They were still saying, because I think, let me go back. I think it was 2017 is when QAnon came into effect. So I know everybody knows most likely what has heard that phrase at least. They might not know what the gist of it was, but the ultimate theory of it, the ultimate thing behind what QAnon represented was. Let me go to my little stack of info here. So here we have an NPR article, Untangling Disinformation. 4 years after the Capitol riot, why QAnon hasn't gone away. December 30th, 2024. So this was right after right after Trump won. So we're basically less than a month away from Trump taking office in January 20th, 2025. And they're still going with the in their eyes the notion that QAnon's that whole what I'm about to go into is a conspiracy theory. So when you scroll down in the article, it explains what the QAnon theory is, and we'll get to that after this first paragraph, talking about who the Capitol rioters were on January 6th, because that's what this article was meant to go after. The reason why January 6th happened in the first place was because QAnon said this is the time to go in and take over the elite, and we're about to see why QAnon was doing it. Many of the rioters who stormed the Capitol that day were inspired by then President Donald Trump's calls to be there, which was just a rally. But many also sided or were adherents of the baseless QAnon conspiracy theory. Over the past 4 years, the online extremist community has continued to be subtly courted by Trump and some of his most powerful allies. Now, here's the theory. They tell you in this fucking article what the theory was, and this was 2 years ago, basically. It's still a conspiracy theory in the left's eyes. They're trying to keep conditioning you to the fact that this is a conspiracy theory. The theory, which emerged in 2017, claims that Trump is involved in a secret battle against sorry, in a secret battle against evil members of the alleged deep state, or in other tellings, a powerful cabal of government and Hollywood elites engaged in satanic child abuse. Huh? What? Whoa. I haven't heard of that. Some QAnon claims and themes echo long standing anti Semitic tropes. An anonymous source called Q, who supposedly had access to high level intelligence, posted cryptic clues known as Q drops on online message boards. And that was the thing that, all these, it was kind of retarded after a certain point. But the main theory behind what QAnon was that Trump was supposed to be the guy who's going in to take out the fucking Epstein people. And that was a conspiracy theory to the left, and they were trying to condition you to that fact up until he was taking office in January of 2025. You keep scrolling down the article, they're trying to tie Elon and Trump together with this as well, with the QAnon conspiracy. That same year, billionaire Elon Musk, who's now one of Trump's closest allies, bought Twitter and renamed it X. He allowed banned QAnon accounts to return. Both Trump and Musk have repeatedly shared QAnon related content on their respective social media platforms. Here's a quote. I forgot. Yeah. Here's a quote from Kinley. I forgot to see who that person was in the. It's on the article. You can go look it up yourself. It's incredibly dangerous when we do see high profile figures amplify this language and symbols because it provides adherence. It provides adherence, this perceived legitimacy to their beliefs and their movement, said Kinnelly, who pointed out that QAnon has been associated with violence, including the Capitol riot. So now, I wasn't trying to drag this out, but it does take some dissecting to explain what has been done to the right and this conspiracy theory that now the left believes wholeheartedly because Trump is Satan now. And so there was also other little buzzwords in there, anti-Semitic being the other one, and basically the last 3 years, uh, maybe 2 years leading up to the election, the right's been going against George Soros for a long time, as far as always calling them out, the billionaire that's been funding Democrats for the last 20 years at least. And it's kind of funny because they ignore that billionaire, but then Elon Musk is they go all hard on him. But George Soros was born a Jew. He's now an atheist. Somehow he's whenever you whenever you make claims against Soros, it's anti-Semitic, even though he's not a Jew by religion. He is Jewish by his race. I think it all gets confusing, but they were linking QAnon to anti-Semitic tropes, which also came out in the files, saying that the Rothschilds, who are the largest Jewish family in the world that we know of, they were funding this cabal, as well as George Soros, this cabal of Satanist, child trafficking, child sacrificing people. So you can understand why people in power of these large media companies who are funded by George Soros and the PACs, and well, maybe not PACs, but the groups that he's created to fund all these organizations, you could see how and why they would not want people to believe in a conspiracy that says, "Hey, a bunch of these elite people are fucking kids." but now, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying here. If you're being truly open minded, if you're not so biased and insecure with your own ego that you cannot just say, maybe I was lied to about this. You were. It's not maybe, you were fucking lied to. And now you're all up in arms for something that the right has been talking about incessantly for 20 plus years. And this video with what's his name, Geraldo. This is from the 90s, and they're still trying. I haven't watched all of it yet, but they're still trying at this point to disprove it. You know, they have the people on the show, the special, whatever this was supposed to be, that are, you know, on both sides. Like, we got people that are defending it, saying that it's happening, and they also have people on the other side that say that it's not happening. So it's just kind of it's kind of funny to see how quickly people can be conditioned to believe something that they themselves denied for years, and somehow just overnight completely forgot that they were told for 20 years that this is a far-right anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But now the Trump's linked to it. It's a fact. And I'll just cite one more article because it's, I mean, it just shows how conditioned the left was, or that they were, and that they were just hoping to keep conditioning the left too on this theory, this conspiracy theory. Can't talk. Politico, January 9th, 2024. So the year leading up to the 2024 election. Pizzagate, QAnon, and the Epstein list. Why the far right is obsessed with sex trafficking. An expert on conspiracy theories explains why MAGA figures are embracing the latest twist in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. What do you, when you hear that, when you read that, when you see that, what in your eyes, what does that tell you? In your mind, what is it telling you? It's telling you that it's a fucking conspiracy theory. It's a far right conspiracy theory that they are sex trafficking kids. And then Pizzagate, it's a whole other thing. That's another fucking far right conspiracy theory. That one's a whole other rabbit hole to go down into, and that one might have to be a whole new video, because there's plenty of videos out there on it, and it was one of those that got so suppressed and so censored on YouTube, all the social media platforms. Anytime I ever posted anything about it, immediately blocked. So all these social media platforms have been working against this theory going out there. And it was only until they got the green light in the last year, not even 2 years, just the last year, that they just made a full fucking 180 spin and said, this is a fact. Let's watch the video.
Deals with devil worship and satanic beliefs. It contains explicit scenes and descriptions of violent crimes and rituals. Because of the program's theme and controversial subject matter, parental discretion should be exercised.
You have to give a blood sacrifice to Satan. It's supposed to keep you protected. It's supposed to keep you pure.
They said that if we told that the devil would come and kill our parents.
It doesn't matter if you believe in Satan. It doesn't matter if you believe in demons. What's important is to know that there are people out there that do, and they're willing to do anything to accomplish their goal.
Satanism is more than a hodgepodge of mysticism and fantasy, more than a Halloween motif. It's a violent impulse. It preys on the emotionally vulnerable, especially teenagers, often lonely and lost.
It basically started out like with the killing of animals. Then there's always the heavy metal music, and drugs don't help.
It attracts the angry and the powerless, who often sink into secret lives.
They asked me if I had ever thought about killing somebody just to watch them die, and they asked me if I would like to join a satanic cult.
Possessed by an obsessive fascination with sex and drugs, and yes, heavy metal rock and roll.
Satan's child.
Often Satanism seems to be a personal psychodrama, a kind of license for strange, sometimes violent behavior.
A bloodbath would be a cleansing and purification of a planet that has been dirtied and degraded for too long.
Sometimes it's just half-baked mumbo-jumbo and scrawled symbols, but other times it goes deeper, deadly.
Tommy died as brutally as his mother did, but at his own hands.
I loved him dearly, but he also took my wife who I loved.
Satanism goes far beyond teenage obsession. Today there are cults that worship the devil, engage in secret ceremonies, believe in ancient, though bizarre theology, all of it constitutionally protected, as long as no laws are broken.
I believe that hate is necessary in a controlled way just as much as love is necessary.
The other face of adult Satanism is violent and fiendish, centered on sexual ritual and torture, frequently descending into the vilest crime of all, sexual abuse of children.
He has drawn pictures of child being sacrificed. He's talked about animal sacrifices. He's disclosed molestation.
And what of their own children? Some are born into satanic cults and grow up as lifelong members. Others are desperate to flee, but dread the penalty of grotesque death.
They're going to catch me, it don't matter. I could run and run and run. They're always going to catch me because they're all over.
And beyond the mayhem and monsters, it's said that a nationwide network of satanic criminals exists. Start with the warped and wicked Charles Manson.
It's everything that human beings don't understand. It's all their fears. It's what they're not sure of. You dig what I'm saying? Satan to me would be God.
Or the demented son of Sam killer David Berkowitz. These and others purportedly linked to the devil worship underground.
Here's Satan.
Here's Satan.
Here's Satan.
It's all over the United States and probably all over the world because it's just something that people are experimenting with now.
Impossible to measure, easy to doubt. The very mention of it invites ridicule.
Come out.
No, I won't let her go. No.
Often the choice is to avoid confronting it, ignore it, find other explanations, or laugh it off. That is not the choice we have made tonight. We have chosen to ask why. Via satellite, we'll be asking the youngest person on Oklahoma's death row, just 17 when he killed in the name of Satan, why he murdered his own parents. And to Southern California, where we will ask the parents of children in the notorious McMartin preschool why they claim their kids were satanically abused. And to London, where rock star Ozzy Osbourne will tell us why he feels he and heavy metal music are getting a bum rap. And to the state penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana, to ask convicted killer Charles Gervais why he thought the devil would award him 10,000 souls.
The Investigative News Group presents the Geraldo Rivera Special. Devil Worship. Exposing Satan's underground.
Whether a Satan exists is a matter of belief, but we are certain that Satanism exists. To some, it's a religion. To others, it's the practice of evil in the devil's name. It exists, and it's flourishing. Members of our studio audience tonight will attest to that. They are friends and foes of Satanism, devil worshippers and law enforcers, experts and victims. They'll help us understand this force that exalts evil and darkness. We'll be asking why. Why does it exist? And why does it appeal to so many vulnerable people, especially the young? Now, the very young and the impressionable should definitely not be watching this program tonight. This is not a Halloween fable. This is a real-life horror story, and it will give small children bad dreams. As for teenagers and their parents, we hope you are watching, because it's teenagers who are most likely to fall under the spell of this jumble of dark, violent emotions called Satanism, and in some cases, to be driven into committing terrible deeds.
Being into heavy metal doesn't necessarily mean your kid's also into Satanism, and most of these fans are not. But there is an undeniable connection between obsession with the really hard stuff and the occult. This stone pony from Kansas City is named Spike.
The upside-down cross is a symbol of Satan. Ozzy is a rock and roll singer, and most acid rock is involved with Satanism.
Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast.
A heavy metal freak from Louisiana, Joe got himself into self-mutilation in Satan's name.
We'd cut our arms and let the blood drip into a cup, and we'd pass it around and drink from the cup, from each other's blood.
Kim from Colorado also practiced the gruesome ritual.
Violence with blood. We like to see blood, and we used to eat blood and stuff like that.
Drinking blood as entertainment is apparently a staple in the acts of heavy metalists like Wasp.
My life became centered not only around the marijuana I was smoking and the booze I was drinking, but it became centered around Satan.
Although Satanism is more obvious in the lyrics of groups like Megadeth, Slayer, Venom, and Iron Maiden, in St. Petersburg, Florida recently, satanic symbols filled the air at this concert by Danish-born King Diamond.
How much can you influence kids? I think people are too clever to be influenced by watching a band or listening to an album to go out and do the same, because if they were that easy to influence, watching the news, you get the real thing, and everybody knows that, right into your living room. Personally, I am a Satanist, a practicing Satanist, but we never tried to preach that religion to anybody.
Bull. An avowed Satanist, Diamond's protest that he's not preaching is belied by lyrics laced with references to death, graves, and evil. Of course, to some, it's just rock and roll rebellion.
Satan has nothing to do with this kind of a concert.
It's just an outlet to have a good time.
Parents think, oh, Satanism, their kids. It's killing their kids. It's not killing their kids. The parents are screwing up in the beginning. We're the next generation. And you like it!
Whatever the connection, there is no doubt that teenage satanic activity in this country is increasing dramatically. In Bayou country in southwest Louisiana, one persistent problem has been grave robbing.
So what do they take out of these tombs? They take out the bones, okay, especially on the older type grave sites as this, because our understanding is that the right little finger has something to do with their culture, and they make a necklace out of them and they wear them. A necklace out of the right knuckle? The right knuckle.
And the graffiti is no longer John Loves Mary.
Death chamber, the point of no return, this says. As you walk into the main vault, it's a devil's pentagram, 666, the sign of the devil. Over here, a bloody skull and crossbones.
In Maine, a dozen churches were defaced with satanic symbols. In California, New Jersey, Alabama, and elsewhere, police have found inverted crosses and the remains of mutilated animals. But by far the most frightening of all are the reports of teenagers killing other kids in Satan's name. Item, Douglas County, Georgia.
I'm sorry for you, young lady, and I sentence you to a term of life in prison. I'm sorry for you, and I wish you good luck. Remove her from the courtroom, Mr. Sheriff.
17-year-old Melissa Ernest and two other teenage members of her coven admitted drinking her 15-year-old victim's blood, then dancing around her still warm body. Now listen to this report from a small town in Maine.
Yesterday's conviction of Scott Waterhouse for the murder of 12-year-old Giselle Cody may finally bring an end to talk of a satanic cult in the town.
Item, Long Island, New York. Police arrest 17-year-old Ricky Casso for the ritual murder of 15-year-old Gary Lowers. Casso gouged out his victim's eyes.
As we've seen, the level of violence in these crimes committed in Satan's name is often appalling and savage, brutal enough to shock even hardened police officers. Detective Paul Hart thought he had seen everything. Then this veteran New Jersey officer saw how a suburban teenager murdered and mutilated his own mother.
I believe that evil will once again rise and conquer the love of God. If this pact is to your approval, sign below.
Just barely 14 years old, Tommy Sullivan had written this contract with the devil before he butchered his mother with his Boy Scout knife. The murder took place in the basement of the Sullivan family home.
As we came down here, we found Mrs. Sullivan laying on the floor just about in this area here.
Describe the condition of the body.
It appeared that her throat had been cut and a good portion of her face had literally been slashed away. Tommy died as brutally as his mother did, but at his own hands.
What did Tommy then manage to do to himself? What wounds did he inflict on himself to kill himself?
His first self-inflicted wounds were a series of wounds to his wrists. 3, if I remember correctly. deep enough to actually sever the arteries and the tendons in his arm, enough to snap back his wrist. And after doing that, he literally slit his throat from ear to ear with this 3.5-inch knife from the windpipe all the way back to the spinal column, and to the point of almost taking his head off.
Understandably unable to live with the gruesome memories in their family, Tommy's father and younger brother have moved out of state.
Do you think you can ever find it in your heart to forgive your son?
I don't know. I loved him dearly. But he also took my wife, who I loved.
How could this happen here? To a nice boy from a good Catholic school and a fine middle-class family. Sure, he was obsessed by the symbols. This is what his room looked like on the night of the murder and suicide. But heavy metal is not answer enough.
You're a veteran of Vietnam. Had you ever seen anything that brutal?
Certainly in an area like this, in a town like this, in a neighborhood like this, you don't expect to see that type of violence. And it was brutal. It was brutal, and there's few of us that will forget that.
Nor do you forget these drawings Tommy made just before he killed himself. But you continue to search for the reasons. What made Tommy? What made the others do it?
As reporters investigating this story for months, we have a good idea of what's going on in this country. Our big question tonight is why. This is Detective Sergeant Pearl Hart. Yeah, stand up, Paul. He's the man, the cop who investigated the Tommy Sullivan tragedy. I've never heard of wounds that ferocious, and the pictures are even more appalling. Pictures that we did not show here. Do you think, you're not a theologian, you're a cop, do you think that Tommy was possessed?
I think that possession is a state of mind, and it would have been a hell of an interview with Tommy had we located him. Certainly, like I had said before, his death was as violent as his mother's.
Father LeBar, you investigate these cases for the Catholic Church. Is it the Church's position that demonic possession is possible?
It certainly is. There have been many cases down through the centuries, many in our own decade, for example, of where the devil has actually possessed people and caused them to do many strange things.
So you believe it's possible?
I believe not only is it possible, it is a reality in some very select amount of cases.
Let's go to London for a quick exchange with Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy, I'm glad you're on the program. I'll interview you in greater detail in a couple of minutes. The one thing I have to ask you now, though, is, of course, the vast majority of your fans and the fans of heavy metal music are not Satanists. But there is no doubt, at least not in our reporting, that heavy metal music plays a role. Every single kid whose case we know about, who committed a violent act in Satan's name, was also into heavy metal music. What's your response to that, Oz?
Well, I don't really know. All I do is make music, you know. I don't sit down and purposely plan to freak everybody out. I mean, I always have played heavy metal music. I suppose when I was younger and I started writing songs, my world was kind of dark and dingy, you know. I came from a working class family who had nothing, no dough, no prospects of ever having much money, and so that's how I saw the world as a child. And so, I mean, not all my songs are about Satanism.
Of course not.
In fact, if you
stand by, Ozzy, because I want to get to Sean Sellers, who's the youngest kid ever to go on death row in Oklahoma. Sean is a kid who murdered his mother, murdered his stepfather, murdered a convenience store clerk. What did Satanism have to do with it, Sean? What did Satan, do you feel, have to do with, first, your murder of that convenience store clerk?
Satanism was, well, the murder was because it was how do I say this so that you can understand it? It was a sacrifice to prove allegiance to Satan, to prove my hatred towards society and everything.
Well, hatred towards society is one thing, Sean, but how does Satan make you commit murder?
Yeah, but Geraldo, Sean, in that particular situation, Sean Sellers.
This is Tom Wedge, an expert in Satanism who is with Sean in the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. Yeah,
right.
Go ahead, quickly.
Sean had broken every one of the 10 commandments except thou shalt not commit murder. And after he worshiped before the altar and asked for powers from Satan, he went out to do this. Technically, it was a human sacrifice.
Okay, I got to move on. You guys stand by. We'll get back to you. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get into the mind of another all-American boy who came under the influence of Satanism and took part in a crime without passion or motive. He and his pals beat another classmate to death. We'll be right back. As you may have heard, we faced a much publicized dilemma in putting this program together. Many of the things about Satanism are offensive, and putting on an offensive television show was not our aim, so the most gruesome scenes have been left out. Now, what we've kept is strong. We think it's strong enough to get across an effective warning. Satanism can be cause for concern. Its roots are anywhere. Its roots are even in the very heartland of this country. Take a look. Carl Junction, Missouri. A town of about 4,000 souls in the heart of the Bible Belt, where people believe in God and the devil. Periodically, satanic graffiti and some mutilated animals turn up, causing alarmists to cry that satanic cults are operating in the area. Those charges were routinely discounted until a group of students from this high school shocked the entire nation. Late one night last December, 4 teenagers who had been dabbling in Satanism carried baseball bats, a cat, and a length of rope to an isolated spot near their small town here in Missouri. By the time the night was over, the cat had been mutilated and one of the boys beaten to death by the other 3, who then dumped his body in a well. One of the kids who did it, Pete Rowland, is now serving life sentence without parole here at this maximum security facility in Fulton, Missouri. The other 2 boys, his classmates, were also sentenced to life.
Have you ever been in
Here in the first interview since the murder, Pete Rowland talks about the satanic elements of the crime.
What was it about Satanism that attracted you?
Power. Just, you know, with power comes money, comes girls, just the feeling of people looking up to you, popularity.
You're a good-looking guy, smart. Wouldn't you have those things anyway?
It just seemed easier through the devil.
The devil was the spur for this murder, which Pete confessed on this never-before-seen police videotape.
Yes.
Go ahead and show us what you did.
Okay. I got him right through here, and I grabbed the over hand, and I pulled him through to right here. So the victim, and he was still moaning a little bit and going, like kind of like that.
About this bad here, Pete.
Okay, this is the bat that I threw. This is the 3rd bat.
Quite a bit of blood and hair on this thing. You can see a lot of hair on the end of it. Who all hit him?
Me, myself, Jim Hardy, and Ron Clement. It basically started out like with the killing of animals. Then there's always the heavy metal music, and drugs don't help. Sometimes I didn't feel like I was the master of my own body. Like something else kind of took over with inside of my mind.
What took over?
Just the violence, the devil. Lust and greed for drugs, for money.
Pete gradually withdrew from family life. That is probably one of the main things I noticed. He even got to where he avoided eating meals with us. He listened to the music, heavy metal music, every opportunity.
Another example of the link between heavy metal and teenage satanic crime.
Describe what this music did to you.
It's kind of like in the way of when we killed animals, it was just like, it would just go, things would go through my mind, and I could see the thoughts, I could see me hurting someone, you know, torturing people, and just along with the words too. Some of it was just all hail Satan and ripping apart, severing flesh, gouging eyes, things like that, you know. And after you listen to this, you know, 3 or 4 hours a day, every day for, you know, years or months, and it can get to you.
Why did you choose this guy as your victim? Why Steve?
Just because he was a human. Just because we could deceive him easy.
The boy deceived was 19-year-old Stephen Newberry, who then took the first of some 70 blows as his classmates swung their baseball bats.
I kind of looked down and I heard a pop, and I knew what it was. And I looked up, and Steve's eyes were real big, you know. And he just said, you know, why me? Why me? And he just looked like he was really sad. And someone said, because it's fun, Steve. And then we just all just like vultures, you know. I mean, we just went in. It happened, you know.
You hit him?
Yes.
In the head?
Yes.
How many times?
A lot. And I look at my hands sometimes and I think, you know, are these the hands that killed him? And I mean, I know they are, but it just doesn't seem like it, you know. I don't want, you know, I would never want to kill anybody again. I mean, right after we did what we did, I felt real empty inside. I felt like I could never love again, you know. I felt like a zombie.
The devil double-crossed you?
Yes. It just leads to your own destruction.
How do you know that now?
Look where I'm at, you know, look at my sentence. I mean, I'm in jail with life without parole.
I feel very guilty that I didn't pay attention, that I didn't. There were some things that I saw that I feel like I should have paid attention to. I saw the album covers, and they're hideous. I just assumed that if they sell it, it's got to be okay. I saw satanic symbols on his bookwork, and I had spoken to him about it. Didn't mean anything, you know. I assumed it was a passing phase. I had my things when I was that age. I assumed that he had his. I assumed wrong. And I would advise anybody, if they see anything like that, to look into it. Don't ignore it. It doesn't pass. It's just something I'll never get over, ever.
Parents, heed the advice of Pete Rowland's mom. Pay attention. Satanism is not a harmless fad or a passing phase in some of these kids' lives. Ozzy?
Yeah?
I know that your lyrics are less excessive than groups like Slayer or Venom or Iron Maiden or some of the others, but still, for some reason, maybe it's because you've been around for so long, I see tattoos of your name on some of these, teenage devil worshippers' arms. Wherever I see devil graffiti and satanic graffiti, I see your name also. Do you feel a sense of responsibility, Oz?
The only responsibility I feel is the fact that I'm a true musician of what I play. I don't want to make anybody start doing all this devil worship crap, because that's not my intention. Although I have sang on a few songs about the devil, you know, that's about it. You know, I don't want anyone to harm themselves.
What about the issue of responsibility? What about the whole thing about guilt? Do you feel responsible?
I don't feel guilty. I feel kind of persecuted by everybody because I'm not a bad guy. My intentions are not to harm anyone. In fact, it's directly the opposite. Like when people come to my concerts, I want them to have a good, fun evening out, you know. And it seems to me that a lot of people judge the book by the cover more so than they write things about me, or they don't even know what they're talking about, you know.
Well, there are lots of people out there, lots of people here in our studio audience who have a very different point of view. We'll get to them coming up next. A look into the dark soul of Satanism. Stay with us.
Satan means whatever I'm looking at, whatever I want it to mean. It's on my forehead. It's me if I can get up on that highway. If it's me trying to save my air, my water, my trees, my wildlife. It's me on that cameraman.
The Geraldo Rivera special, Devil Worship, will continue.
Once again, a warning about some tough language and descriptions in a report that we'll have for you in just a moment. Let me introduce you first, though, to Zena LeVay, Her father, Anton LaVey, is, I guess, the founding father of Satanism in this country. He founding it about 25 years ago, Zena?
Yeah, approximately 25 years.
Can you tell us with any certainty how widespread the religion of Satanism is in this country or around the world?
Well, the religion is worldwide. We have members just throughout the world, and it's a legitimate religion. It's perfectly within it's legal.
But how many people? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands?
Hundreds of thousands, I can't say. Thousands, easily.
What is it, Dr. Aquino? Dr. Aquino, the high priest of the Church of Set?
Temple of Set.
Temple of Set, also a colonel, interestingly enough, in the United States Army. What is it, this Satanism?
I think that there is some confusion tonight because this same term means something different to Satanists than it does to Christians in the United States. By our own standards, the people who you've shown in these film clips would not be Satanists, either present or in the past. Rather, they would be the failures of a conventional religion.
I appreciate your opinion. What is it, sir, then? What is Satanism?
Well, originally the Church of Satan, when it was founded, was composed not of people with a hatred for Christianity, but of people who, by and large, were agnostics and atheists, because they felt that the institutions which had arisen around Christianity had failed in their moral commitment. So Satanism itself became an emphasis on rational self-interest and on taking responsibility for your own intellectual and ethical decisions.
Rational self-interest, you call it?
Yes.
Okay, one thing we do know that Satanism has in common with other religions is the belief that the devil can inhabit your body. Remember the movie Exorcist, the film? It dealt with ridding the body of Satan in a ritual called exorcism. As we discovered in the heart of the Haitian section of Brooklyn, New York, exorcism is more than just a scene in a movie. It's a common aspect of some people's religious beliefs. Operating out of the back room of this religious curio shop, a voodoo priest regularly performs exorcisms. This one on a woman whose persistent stomach pains were thought to be caused by the devil inside her.
I know you've been possessed by the devil for so many years. He been bother you. But today you come to me, and I'm going to let him know he cannot bother you again.
With the help of several assistants, and accompanied by throbbing traditional music, the priest's incantations built to a crescendo. Then, in a moment of almost sexual release, the devil was purged from the patient.
The chicken is dead. The chicken take all the malady, all the sickness away from you. Yeah.
In every way, Southern California is a very long way from the heart of Brooklyn. But at the church of a preacher named Roy Masters, exorcisms of the devil appear just as sincere, far out, and dramatic.
Get out of here.
With a background in show business rather than theology, Masters claims the members of his congregation react so profoundly to the laying on of the cross because they feel and fear themselves possessed by the devil.
Come out. No, I won't let her go. No.
Devil worship is as old as religion itself. It's the grim alternative, the flip side of life. Evil over good, dark over light, Satan over God himself.
Come forth and bestow these blessings of hell upon us.
Forced underground by the religious hysteria of the Middle Ages, Satanism was resurrected, first by an Englishman named Aleister Crowley in the early 20th century. It entered its modern era in this country just about 25 years ago, under the theatrical guidance of Anton LaVey, California-based high priest of present-day devil worship. LaVey founded the Church of Satan. Now, despite its preachings of evil and hate, the church and its offshoots are constitutionally protected religions.
I believe that hate is necessary in a controlled way just as much as love is necessary.
LaVey penned the best-selling Satanic Bible. It's the handbook of devil worshippers everywhere. And for a time, he was considered chic enough to attract the attention of Hollywood. After working together on a film, LaVey made Sammy Davis Jr. an honorary member.
while the late Jane Mansfield was for a time among LaVey's most passionate followers.
Most of the people that are in my group are professional people, they're business people, they're people that are from very responsible walks of life.
Contemporary Satanism relies heavily on bizarre and sometimes bloody ceremonies.
One of the ugliest, yet apparently most common rituals in devil worship is the sacrifice of animals, often involving the removal of organs and the draining of their blood in elaborate ceremonies. Well, a series of cattle mutilations on this Louisiana farm has sent the shiver of fear through this entire community.
Show me the evidence that this was some kind of ritual.
Oh, this hole right here and the tail, they cut the tail off. The same thing with the ears.
They cut the ears off.
Right.
So you two have no doubt but that your animals were used in some kind of ritual.
Right.
Yes. All the blood was gone out of them, too. Every one of them, the blood was drained.
No blood, no insides, eyes pulled out, everything. I'm begging for something to be done. I'm scared.
In response to the animal mutilations and other mysterious and unsolved crimes in this area, the local fundamentalist church held an extraordinary service.
There's been a lot of questions about, are there any witchcraft, occultism, Satan worshipers in the area? And the answer is obviously yes. The only way to deal with Satan, which is spirit, is by way of spirit.
The preacher asked his flock to protect themselves with their faith, but some chose a more down-to-earth method.
Brother Blunt, I believe in the Lord, and I believe in you, but I'm still going to carry my gun because I'm scared.
In our investigation, we discovered that some of Satan's soldiers are also high-ranking officers in the United States military. Here at San Francisco's Presidio Army Base, for example, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino led a double life as a satanic high priest. The colonel's cult is listed in the San Francisco telephone book, and his phone answering machine boasts of his affiliation.
This is the Temple of Set. The temple is the only international satanic religious institution fully recognized by the United States government.
Indeed, the Army does officially recognize Satanism as a legitimate religion and supplies chaplains with this guide for ministering to the satanic soldier. Yet unofficially, some charge that Army bases have become sanctuaries for devil worshippers. Just last month, under a full moon, I took a midnight tour of the Presidio grounds with police investigator Ed Abanofsky.
Are you saying that there was a satanic cult active right here on the Army base?
Yes, we believe so. There's evidence to substantiate that. They had satanic rituals going on. There's an altar in there, and all of the graffiti on the wall would indicate that.
Let's see if I can see it. How'd you find this place?
This is a fortification during World War II. During World War II, where they had gun batteries.
I can see a pentagram painted on the wall. I can see the words Prince of Darkness. On this wall, I see several inverted crosses and other obvious satanic ritualistic paintings or symbols. Joseph, we've agreed to conceal your identity, but you are an officer in the United States Army.
That's correct.
And you were an officer in the United States Army during the time you were a member of this satanic organization.
Yes.
Did the authorities at the Presidio know that a satanic organization was active on their base during the time that you were a member?
They were very much aware of it, yes.
The present base commander, Colonel Rafferty, says that today, at least,
I know of no satanic activities whatsoever in this area.
Satanism may be a constitutionally protected religion, but similar to another recent case at the United States Military Academy at West Point, here charges surface connecting ritual child abuse at the Presidio Daycare Center to the devil cult. It was here, parents and others allege, that as many as 60 young children were ritualistically abused by soldiers of Satan.
What actually was done to the kids?
Oral copulation, sodomy, defecation. They were urinated on.
The former chief juvenile investigator at the Presidio, Ed Abanofsky, is here. He's now a deputy sheriff in Santa Clara County. Colonel Aquino, we note, sir, for the record, that you were originally implicated in the dreadful charges of child abuse. We note also that no charges were ever brought against you, and presumably you have been cleared. Would you like to comment on why those charges were brought against you?
Well, the entire time that the so-called child molestation scandal was occurring at the Presidio, the time period when these terrible events were supposedly taking place, I was assigned to the National Defense University in Washington, D.C., and my wife was out there living with me.
But is it not a fact that a 3.5-year-old girl identified you as the alleged perpetrator of molestation?
No, as a matter of fact, it is not the case. An accusation was made by her stepfather, who was an Army chaplain, speaking on behalf of this child. In her original interview with the FBI, she denied ever being molested.
Well, I've seen you are innocent until proven guilty. You were never charged in this case. I don't want to belabor the point. I have seen, however, the affidavits for the search warrant of your home, and they indicate the child is speaking to the authorities, not her father.
This was after she had been subjected to therapy.
Let's say you are innocent of that. You are no longer at the Presidio. You are now in St. Louis, but you are still a serving officer or colonel in the United States Army. Do you feel it is inconsistent with a high-ranking officer pledged, sworn, to uphold the Constitution of the United States that you are also a practicing Satanist?
Not in the least. The Army has known of my religion for the last 20 years. There has never been a problem with it, any more than there's a problem with other members of minority religions.
But let me read from the Satanic Bible. Quote, this is the number one, commandment. Death to the weakling, wealth to the strong. How can you believe this and still uphold the Constitution of the United States? Death to the weakling?
Well, for one thing, what you're looking at there is a highly polemical book that was never meant to be taken literally in all of its commandments.
Father.
Yes, and I'm aware of that, and I'm also saying that members of the Church of Satan understood that much of this book was in the form of a polemic. It was a statement that was dramatically made, but was not intended to be taken literally in all its respects.
So we should not take this book literally?
Correct.
This is Dr. Walter Grote, would you stand, sir? Whose daughter was allegedly abused at West Point, the United States Military Academy. You were a captain in the United States Army. Aside from what allegedly happened to your daughter, which I know you allege was part of a satanic cult, and having nothing to do with this man, I state again for the record, what is your feeling, sir, on the fact that a serving officer in the United States Army is also a professed Satanist, a high-ranking person?
Well, I think in this election year, we've heard a lot about values, Geraldo. We've heard a lot that our little children should be saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. Aquino has identified himself as an antichrist. He preaches that as the leader of the Temple Set. I don't think I'm misquoting him. I find it inconceivable that we can have candidates talking about one nation under God and having our children say that, yet by the same token, we can have somebody in our army as a colonel leading our troops in battle who are opposed to the very concept of God and whose whole purpose it is to fight against God.
We have to take a break right here. Next, more on the connection between Satanism and violence, including more charges of the sexual abuse of children. If you have let your kids watch up until now, we urge you, ladies and gentlemen, we are not kidding. Get them away from the TV during our next report. We'll be right back.